Well, good morning and welcome to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Keaton Shaw. I'm with you virtually this morning, but the most important thing is that we are able to continue our programming, even if it is remotely from the studio. And if I may say, it was quite an active weekend across Trinidad and Tobago, not necessarily in the good sense, with a lot to report on and a lot to debate and discuss this morning. But before we get into that, let me introduce my co-host and colleague. He too is with us virtually this morning. Good morning, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good to see you.
Morning, Keaton. It's good to still be seen, as you said, doing it virtually. I guess it's one of the interesting things about a job like this, where work from home does have a slightly different meaning, different practical applications. Fortunately, it allows us to keep going. Yes, this weekend does have some very unfortunate news. I think I might have alluded to this. I'm not sure if it was in an on-air or an off-air discussion, but especially when it comes to bad news regarding children, whether it is violence or a tragic accident, that's the one area that I'm still not used to. Our murder rate is what it is. We're accustomed to that. Well, unfortunately, I guess we could say. I don't know to what extent it shocks the editorials anymore, what the nation's expectations are. But I mean, it's not just violence against children. It's not like before, in the sense that, obviously they're innocent, they're not involved. This is not gang members committing violence against gang members. And before, it might have been, well, the child was in the proximity. But now it seems as though the indiscriminate nature, we've seen it with the shooting at the wake. I don't necessarily know what else to say about it, but we will have a discussion.
That's the thing. You don't know what else to say about it because it's a story that's every time I have to say the line, we've grown accustomed to it. It gets me very angry, but that is essentially what it is. I mean, imagine children not even being able to play, to enjoy their recreational leisure time together, as what kids do. And reports indicate, police say that the gunman stole a panel van from a bakery and then open fire indiscriminately at this playground, which is, nobody could understand exactly why. Nobody could understand the purpose. And here's this boy just playing, then there's a bullet in his back, So I don't mean to sound crude, I don't mean to sound cross, but that's precisely what happens. That's the reality of Trinidad and Tobago's current situation. Sean, this morning we wake up to learn that our murder toll is 466 for the year thus far, and it's going to be the deadliest year on record. Crime is not just going to stop overnight; it is going to be the deadliest year on record. But the issue for me still is that 466 represents those murders that were reported. I believe. Unfortunately, I have to be the pessimist here that the murder rate, the actual murder rate is probably a lot higher.
Well, that's the unfortunate thing about murders, right? If the body can't be found, then depending, it might not be properly detected. Although the ironic twist of fate is it's one of the easier things to find out after the fact. But I guess now my concern is, in the past, the few times that crime has either touched my family directly or people I know, ironically speaking, one of the saving graces, for lack of a better way to put it, is the fact that there was you could argue, a degree of professionalism. They were there to steal something. They weren't there to commit violence randomly against whoever. So they did what they had to do, and in both cases, they listened to requests of the victim in order for the situation to go smoothly. Random violence like this, it reeks of a level of unprofessionalism now where I don't know, like the randomness, but also the fact that, the criminals are just going to be completely unhinged. You might give whatever it is they're demanding, and depending on the person that is confronting you, that might not be enough, right? It might cause a certain shift in thinking. Maybe this is something that we'll have to ask the ASP later. Like, to what extent now do you cooperate if you can't necessarily reasonably expect that you're not still going to be the victim of violence after cooperating? It's a very frightening scenario when now the violence is so random. And I think this is a wake-up call maybe that we need, however, because again, we can't sweep it on the rug. This is not gang violence, some gangster killing off another gangster because of reprisal or whatever. And so on goes the chain as they go tit for tat. The effect on the average citizen now, this is something that we need to really take note of, because the chances of it happening to any one of us, randomly, out of nowhere, it's just increasing.
See, also, you've described it in a sense that this is no longer just crime. This is a war that is taking place in Trinidad and Tobago. And, you have to be very careful how you use such a term now. But think about it, essentially it is, and it has become a war. Overall, I also think that I'm scared. I can imagine how parents feel, because even if you're sending your child to school now, you're wondering what is going to happen throughout the day. Am I going to be a victim of crime? Could I pick up my children from school? Would my children be there when school is finished? So all of that are things you have to think about. But you see, here in Trinidad, I think there needs to now just be a greater police presence, to the extent that, and people are probably saying, Keaton, you're just stating the obvious, but when there are police officers that are just parked at the side of the highway, it seems as though they're doing nothing, or they're just waiting for something to happen. I think we need to have more random, roadblocks, more random car searches. Stop everybody for illegal tint. Stop the random person for breaking lines. Stop the random person for parking on the main road. You see, these little things could probably lead to bigger things in the context of what is happening here in Trinidad and Tobago. If you get back to basic policing, it could probably make a big dent. But I must ask, we're speaking about crime, we're speaking about a war. What we would have seen here with Jamal Modest, and our condolences to the family, may he rest in peace. And we're so sorry that we have to say that. But to me, it sounds like a gang initiation, Sean. That is the only thing I can think of. If it is that, it's either one gang sending a message to another gang, this is the power we have, this is the capability, and quite frankly, we don't care. Or it could have been a gang initiation. Those are the two things that are floating around in my head.
Right, but then it goes back to my point. Normally, you would suspect that it would be, okay, you're going to be initiated, but we have a target because this guy, he attacked us, so he stole from us, so he owes us money or something, right? This is a 9-year-old child, just randomly, out one night. And I hear what you're saying with regards to what we might need the TTPS to do, but this is what worries me. I'm not sure if it's going to be that easy or if it's going to be that simple. And this could be where we as a society, where we're reaping what we sow. Because there's so many little laws that aren't enforced, so many regulations that aren't properly overseen and enforced, that to what extent are people really going to take it seriously? And you even have to ask with regards to the various law enforcement agencies, when they know that, hey, we turn a blind eye to this and we turn a blind eye to that. Then it gets really easy to turn a blind eye to a lot of things. So the door was always open. The horse bolted from the barn, and we don't even have a door anymore because it took the door with him to close back, even after the horse is bolted, even when it's too late. I think that it's going to need more than getting police to be more active, because the irony is, some of the things that you're asking for, it could very well be that, yes, they could do those things, but it might not actually intercept the violent criminals and the guns. And it might actually tie up police resources for those things. Now, granted, I just said that we don't enforce all of our laws. So the implication is, hopefully if we start doing that, you kind of get a cascade effect where you start to close all the loopholes and everybody takes it more seriously. But in the interim, in the short term, we might not have the manpower for that, nor might it be affordable for us to get the manpower to do it. The problem might have grown out of the capacity for the personnel of the TTPS to handle, because there are a lot of laws that aren't enforced. Traffic laws, littering laws, regulations for construction, etc., etc. And then, of course, there's the boogeyman that plagues the country of corruption, particularly in government offices and government ministries, etc., etc.
Well, the other side I want to look at this is that we're hearing from the acting Commissioner of Police stating that no stone will be left unturned. Now, give credit to the police where credit is due, essentially. I mean, we've seen guns being seized, we've seen drugs also being taken off the streets. Okay, so that's credit to a certain extent. But Sean, how many people have actually been arrested and charged in connection with these things? No stone left unturned. How many people have been arrested and charged? How many people have been convicted? What is our the rate of murders compared to the rate of solving these crimes in Trinidad and Tobago? This information is actually it's eluding us because we can't get it very easily. And the police they come out and sometimes they say that the nicest things and the most obvious of things, sometimes of which we do on the program as well. But no stone will be left unturned. Okay, wonderful. That is the best thing you can say in this situation as the TTPS. But again, if I link it back to what's happening in Trinidad, okay, fine, guns are being seized, drugs are being seized. There is never, ever, ever some level of, I don't know, I keep saying proactive policing. What is our detection rate? Let me give you a prime example of just how one little thing can make a big difference. A colleague of mine, a friend of mine, actually had to call the police service yesterday to make a complaint about basically harassment taking place. And that complaint, when making that call to the police station, the individual officer who answers the phone says, "We cannot take any reports right now, nor can we tend to the matter, because there's being a change in shift and we're waiting for a new corporal to sign in." Could you imagine that? So I am stating that this takes place in almost every business, but the TTPS going through a shift change can't take any reports or respond to any matters or claims because of that. What if it was a more serious crime? So it's things like this that the TTPS do not speak about. It's things like this that they do not address. And these are what citizens are facing on a daily basis. And yet, I don't know, every time I hear an acting commissioner of police or commissioner of police come out and speak, it's the complete opposite to the reality of what citizens are facing.
I think, again, it is a situation that we have allowed as a society coming back to haunt us. Because we did not demand for the TTPS to be merit-based, or the whole public sector, depending, arguably. I mean, I don't know each individual office, etc. How much of it is merit-based? How much of the government agencies are promoted based on merit? Where is the culture of pushing the various agents of the government to be high-performance individuals at their job? Right? We know that there will be people who will do a lot for the job. They're the ones holding the system together. I always say that. Why? Because if you think about it, when you have those bad interactions, we hope that is not literally the entire public sector, but probably this whole system will collapse if that was the case. But at the same time now, the system, we kind of all know it, right? We kind of all complain about it, or we know somebody who complains about it. What have we actually done about it? Now, herein lies the dominoes that might be unfortunate. Not necessarily for us, but we are the victims ultimately, right? Who likes it so? What is allowed to happen when these things are left the way they are? When you have a police service where someone, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if I could take a police officer seriously, that they really believe in the whole concept of protect and serve if a shift change is going to get in the way of attending to the needs of somebody in public. Because we're not asking him to go get a kitten out of a tree, right? Or something benign like that. I would, hopefully that's not what's taking up the majority of their time. So now we have to ask, to what extent was the police service allowed to fester in its traditions and not improve and evolve and advance because either politicians didn't care to make the change? Why push, right? It'll be unpopular with the officers that are there, that are potential voters. Or why push? Because if we improve the police service, they might actually start to investigate us. At the end of the day, if either government, any government is serious about crime, we need to see something a little bit more, because it's literally just been words and just about no results. None whatsoever.
I wonder what the Minister of National Security has to say about this. I wonder what his response was to be like this. And the only thing is that I hope the killing of teenagers and young children do not become something that we're reading every week or something that we have to talk about every Monday.
We're getting there.
Last week, Monday, we had to do the same thing.
We're getting there, yes.
Last week, Monday, we had to do the same thing. And even that, Sean, police believe it's because of a young gang, a gang of teenagers, essentially. That is what they believe it to be. So no further update in relation to that matter. But you're right, we are getting there. And this is the thing. Trinidad and Tobago understand that it is a society that is no longer falling apart. We have fallen apart. And the only thing that is keeping it together right now, the only thing that is keeping Trinidad together right now, believe it or not, is actually fair. I think that's the only thing. And understand what I say by that. Fair is the only thing that is keeping Trinidad and Tobago together right now. And what is that way to live?
I mean, Keaton, even if it was a young gang, it goes back to one of the first things that I said. If your robber is experienced and he is able to keep his cool, you have a decent chance of coming out of a home invasion or a carjacking or what have you, without being harmed. If he's calm, if he's collected, if he's not reckless, if he's not scared, if he's not aggressive. When you have now teenagers who are essentially being a gang or being foot soldiers for a gang, am I supposed to expect now that young people are going to be able to keep their cool in these extreme situations, right? Where confrontation between them and their victim is potentially more likely. They're going to keep their cool and not have a hair trigger and not just shoot somebody because, they panicked, they freaked out, or they indulge in this sense of having power over the victim, and they want to just, you're going to get a few bad apples where they're not fully developed as individuals yet, as teenagers, and they're not going to understand the implications of their actions fully, and it might go to their head, hey, I in charge now, I'm the one holding the gun on you. And we might get some tragedies from that. But at the end of the day, back to the Minister of National Security, I think he will want to, or at least in the past, I would expect him to kind of shield himself with statistics and maybe try to compare this year to years gone by, although that seems to be like a failing scenario. But even if the statistics were favorable and we were not on pace to have one of the worst, if not the worst, year for murders, the violence against children, Keaton, right? Those statistics, it won't necessarily treat with that. It won't change that. Again, we're not talking about gang members, hardened gang members that were at least legal adults killing each other. We have victims who are children now. And I would like to hear more. We need something more substantive. The one regret about COVID I have is ironically, or the second regret, the death rate is the first. But the second one is the fact that there were protests about violence, specifically violence against women, but the people were making their voices known. And I wish that movement was not, unfortunately, interrupted. And now I don't know if it will return.
Well, as we go for a break, yes, we have victims who are children, but we also have, unfortunately, criminals who are children as well. And you mentioned those protests, put it this way, sorry. If two political parties or multiple political parties through campaigns during COVID-19 lockdowns in which they were stressing about social distancing, and then justification for shutting down these protests were also COVID-19, tell us, is there really freedom of speech or freedom of expression trying to be? Well, yes, maybe to a certain extent. You know, we're far better off than many other nations, don't get me wrong. But it's these little things that you look at and you realize political speech is really what is controlling TNT. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a break here on the program now. And when we return, well, this morning, we will get into some more, a lot that took place over the weekend, a lot to debate and discuss. And of course, we can't do it all today. But we'll try to as best as possible. We'll be right back after this.
Delivered nationwide. Kiss enriched bread.
Fill your day with love.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
It's Diwali time again. Come to Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan for all your Diwali essentials. Get your clay diyas, cotton wicks, floating wicks, beautifully decorated imported diyas. And now in stock, our long-lasting, easy-lighting wax diyas. Fasting? We have frozen vegetarian meals, exciting Indian spices and grocery items, decorated mithai boxes, prasad bags, freshly ground elaichi powder, and paper sohari leaves. And don't forget our popular, tasty, mouth-watering mithai. We have simple Diwali Puja guides on CD with a Puja handout, and our helpful staff will assist you with all the required ingredients to perform your Diwali Puja. Get great deals on lantern decorations, electric diya Amplia string lights, and Happy Diwali decorations. Visit us at the corner of Watt Street, Kirep, or at St. Ives Street, Chaguanas, opposite the Charleville taxi stand, or call 663-6084. Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan. It's a family tradition, serving the nation and Dharma. Lakshmi Mata's divine blessings to all. For your convenience, both branches are open on Sundays until Diwali.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Well, welcome back to Talking Point. We thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Keaton Shaw Michael Small. We are doing the show remotely this morning, but nevertheless, we're here. That's most important. Just before we get into some more local news, just to let you know that if you're following international news, you see what's taking place in Iran right now with the protests and the fire at the prison. Reports indicate that they heard gunshots and chanting during that fire, and Iran actually shut down its internet. I think it was on Friday, yet it was able to still make social media. So people in Iran are fighting back against what they are claiming as oppression. Also, Sean, it seems as though there's an Ebola outbreak that is happening as we speak on the continent of Africa, with multiple countries reporting cases over the last couple of months. But on the issue of COVID-19, the most evasive variant to our immune system, as well as the most contagious variant, XBB, as it's being claimed, is now made its way to Singapore, and cases have also been reported in Hong Kong. They're stating that it could actually evade all monoclonal therapies and antibodies that exist for COVID-19. And even though COVID-19 cases are going down, this could be the start of a new wave if it were to spread rapidly, as we've seen with other variants before.
Well, the irony, is that with China's zero COVID policy, I would assume that means that it has not actually gone through the population, which means that there's always, for lack of a better way to say this, fresh individuals to get infected, to give more opportunity for mutation. China is not a small country by any means. So them trying to clamp down on it might in the long run have the opposite effect, because it would have been one thing if the world just clamped down for 3 weeks, just literally everything stopped. We might have been able to stop it. But the more we kind of did it in our own way, in our own timing, with our own various procedures and policies and regulations, and we've had some issues with the regulations down here, it allowed COVID to escape, and the cost-benefit analysis slowly but surely moved to the other side, where Trinidad had to reopen. We couldn't stay locked down anymore, particularly since it wasn't necessarily as lethal as it was, or at least at the time the variants that we had were not as lethal as the ones previous. However, there's always a chance. It could mutate into something more benign, but that's at this point to say that that's a guarantee that it will continue with that trend, I don't think is something that we should always rely on. I mean, we also have to worry about that with Ebola. We never know when Ebola might learn a new trick or two similar to COVID-19. But yeah, it does not surprise me that Hong Kong and Singapore are two of the areas where there's some area of concern. But the flip side is we suspect, we don't necessarily have data because I don't know if you could have enough testing. You know, COVID is, a lot of people have had COVID once already, and the nature of the latest variant that reached us and that reached a lot of the rest of the world was you could get it whether you had antibodies from a previous infection or from a vaccine. And because of that, we don't know how many cycles of mutations is actually going on amongst the population that should be protected to some extent, but eventually it might cycle into something new. So it's just something to monitor, and I don't know what to say because I don't want to say hope for the best. You know, that doesn't necessarily work out automatically. But there isn't necessarily much we could do except maybe introduce a new round of booster shots or vaccines. How many people would be willing to do that? I don't know.
Well, Sean, let's just, as you said, hope for the best. But that's the latest on the COVID-19 front. But let's shift back across to Trinidad right now because, as I said, there's a lot taking place. There's updates as it relates to the ongoing case with the King's Counsel, Vincent Nelson, General Rahim, and Ram Logan, of course, the former Attorney General Paris Arawi, even this empire right now, as well as the Minister of Energy and Energy Industry, Stuart Young. A lot is taking place, but with the PNM internal elections coming up, keeping a close eye on what's taking place within the party, there was a viral social media feed that was circulating over the weekend, which indicated that there is chaos within the People's National Movement Party, that the current and incumbent chairman, that is the Minister of Finance, Colin Imbert, was upset with the Prime Minister, but essentially kicking him out and pushing for Stuart Young to become chairman of the party. There was also issues with Foster Cummings and the Prime Minister. Allegedly, there was a cuss out, as they say, between the Prime Minister and Minister Foster Cummings. Also, they're indicating that Faris Arawi, if he were to go down for this entire situation that is unfolding and is so far it's developing every single day with the Jararam and Ram case, well, he says he has the thread indicates that he has evidence to take down everybody within the People's National Movement Party because he's not going to go down alone. But the Prime Minister has responded to this directly. He's essentially calling these allegations false, completely untrue, and has denied everything. Now, I know it's very easy to start a trend here in Trinidad and Tobago. It's very easy to just post something to social media, very random, and many times actually fake, and it spreads like wildfire on social media. But as we were speaking about it last week, People's National Movement Party right now is in a weakened state. People will have their opinions about it for whatever reasons. I myself, I'm being quite honest, I myself believe that there is some truth, not to the full extent that was indicated in that trend, but the mere fact that the Prime Minister saw it fit to respond to that, when on a daily basis there are many social media posts that are circulating. The mere fact that the Prime Minister sought to respond directly to this one in particular, I do believe right now that there are fractions within the People's National Movement. And it's going to be a very interesting internal election. I don't think there'll be many surprises, but I think the future of the party, well, that is what I'm keeping a close eye on.
Well, so a couple of things. One, you do have to ask yourself, I'm not entirely sure, but speaking to people who know this a little bit better, why is it that you're going to have the Minister of Finance be the party chairman? Because he already is a minister and an MP, right? Those are technically two separate jobs. And then party chairman is, for all intents and purposes, a third job. You know, will the party have the proper leadership? Because I heard questions as to, well, why take your minister of everything, one of the few ministers, and this is the thing, both of those ministers are the two ministers who actually do things. Whether you agree with what they do or not, they actually do things. as opposed to some ministers who just basically talk and are there to try to make themselves look good. But why give it to this minister? And I don't know if the PNM is literally, they have such a dearth of active ministers who could actually get things done that they have to go from one of the few that's active to one of the others. They don't have a choice on the matter. With that said, I agree with you, Keaton. I think that there has to be some truth in this because, first of all, at the end of the day, you have multiple challenges, right? You have challenges from at least two different directions coming in, not all for the same seat. And then, from what we understand, from what we have heard from sources, you know, there are a lot of people who are interested in the seat of political leader. And if Dr. Keith Rowley, for all intents and purposes, retired, right? I don't know how the timing would work out, but basically, if there was we had to look for the successor within the party, it would not have been a clear cut. It would not have been as clear cut as when he took over, first of all. And who knows to what extent, because if you list off the names of people who we believe want the post, whether or not they will run, that's a different matter. But who want the post, you know, we're almost double digits, if not double digits in names. And the turmoil that could happen from that. So the question is, to some extent, is he having to keep a lid on some ambitions there that potentially threaten to wreck the party? Interesting thing with the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. I said it before. This latest fiasco, right, with the corruption case, just shows that he really should never have been Attorney General. And maybe it is an implication on his capacity now to be a minister with any portfolio that requires technical knowledge and skill, right? And it makes me now concerned about the Ministry of Local Government. We have those elections coming up. They have reform coming up. Is he the guy to helm this? I don't know anymore. Because yes, they're not the same, technically the same portfolio, it's not the same job, but his execution and implementation. And at the end of the day, writing laws and crafting reform for executive bodies, etc., those are not so dissimilar, right? Or doing legal deals or public health regulations, and we've seen those failings. Maybe the only post he could do is Minister of Communications. If he has failed ambitions, I always say that you don't have to be an expert in the field to be a minister, but you can't be so poor at implementing things. So, with regards to him having dirt, maybe that's why he's still allowed to be relevant in the party. And then, this is now speculation, but who else has dirt within the party?
Sorry to cut you.
Go ahead.
Not only within the party. I think you're making a very good point. I think that's probably one of the reasons why Faris Harawi is still there. Prime Minister doesn't know essentially how to get rid of him. But then again, the Prime Minister probably can't get rid of a lot of people within the party simply because of what they might have against the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley. It's a similar situation with the United National Congress. What if, let's just say, for example, as we've seen with Jara Ramlin and Anna Ramlogan here, you know, this case is unfolding, so we can't comment too much because there's also a case against the court right now. But let's just say the People's National Movement government had a lot of intelligence or a lot of evidence against the former People's Partnership government. What if the People's Partnership government also have a lot against the current People's National Movement government? Essentially, what I'm trying to allude to is that both of them within the walls of Parliament will look as though they're arguing against each other. Both of them will have the nastiest of debates. Even so, calling it a debate is I shouldn't even be calling it a debate. It's just an argument, a nasty argument. And yet still, nothing, they never stick to it. They never go after each other, and there's never any true revelations to the public. unless something happens, such as this collapse in particular of this case. Overall, it just seems as though, what if they have everything against each other, but they do not go after them because they need to help each other at the end of the day? In order for us to remain in the position that we're in, and in order for us to prosper from the position that we're in, you know what? You know what I'm involved in. I know what you're involved in. Let's just remain silent. Let's look as though we're in opposition. Let's look as though we're a government. Or let's look as though we're a whole political party, a very strong political party.
Well, yeah. We have to take a break, but quickly, my thing is, I believe that the People's Partnership had a significant amount of corruption, but that's just my opinion. With regards to the current administration, it does not look in any shape or form that they are able to seriously prosecute corruption. In part because of this case and the failure of the case, but also in part because of things like rehiring or reappointing Marlene McDonald to your cabinet, or basically reaccepting her into your political fold. Things like that. Or there's also that small public health matter with Adrian Schoon, which I believe might still be in the courts. I'm not sure what the resolution is. Prime Minister didn't talk about that. Prime Minister didn't talk about holding people responsible. Or he had a teachable moment and a leadership moment, and he didn't use that. But he came out to talk about this. Why? Again, I suspect, and I believe you do too, he is trying to manage a situation before it causes his party to implode.
I agree with you, Sean. I think the main fact that the Prime Minister responded directly to this viral turnout was so fit to do so, indicates that there probably is some truth to this. Anyway, folks, let's take a break here on the program now, and when we return, well, we're hopeful to be joined by our acting ASP, the Trans-Tobago Services, the Police Services Media Ambassador this morning. We'll be right back after this.
Diwali is in the air again, and Royal Castle reminds you to try its yummy veggie burger. The Royal Castle veggie burger is great on its own or in a combo with a side and a 16-ounce drink. And it's healthy too. A nutritious patty made with oats, lentils, chana, potatoes, and carrot inside a soft bun with tomatoes and lettuce. So for this season, try the Castle's tasty and healthy veggie burger. Shubh Diwali from Royal Castle.
Perfection doesn't happen by chance. Like an artist, the cook selects the main ingredient, one that is worthy of a proud cultural tradition. Trusted to enhance your creations with its richness and versatility. To create a cooking masterpiece, the secret is simple. The brand we know, the brand we trust, the brand our ancestors have been using for generations.
There is only one pure cow brand ghee. Look for the marks of authenticity.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
I had this accident last year, So it is more convenient for me now to move about with the car, so I can move about to the lanes properly. Here is the only place I can shop conveniently with my budget. Everything I get it here at a convenient price. I just get specials on butters and whatever, so it will be convenient for me. Their prices is very low compared to other supermarkets. It's a really nice place to shop.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. And at a time where we were talking about the more aggressive posture, the more reckless posture of our criminals, the more violent nature of the crimes, well, we have a TTPS media ambassador to go into that hot seat. I don't envy his role today. However, acting ASP Ashraf Ali never shies away from the fire. Good morning, ASP Ali.
Good morning, Sean. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, I felt better. Hopefully, it doesn't come across on the broadcast too much. But before we get into any of the current sensational stories, there is some practical stuff that you wanted to speak about, a continuation of where we left off last week. And I think that it's somewhat pertinent because we really do need to now consider what we could put in place to try to help ourselves. As small as it might seem, as minor as it might help, it could be the difference between survival in the current climate and, well, being just another unfortunate statistic. And you basically want to talk about home safety, ASPLE.
Yes, and it's so true. Our current environment, these are very critical topics, and we take them for granted. Even many law enforcement officers and the general public take these things for granted. And the key objective here is that, and taking home safety serious is to reduce the opportunity to making yourself and your home harder targets. And how do we make ourselves hard targets? It may be very simple, simple things that we can do that we can consider in this whole concept. Now, we spoke about the issue of home security systems. Now, many persons may not be able to afford a home security system, which would be top of the line or as the case may be. But then there are also home security systems that may be a little less expensive, and then there are those that purport to be that cheap and they wouldn't give you the service that you require. So one of the things that we are asking that if you intend to invest in a home security system, use a reliable and trusted source. Get somebody who knows these equipment from a reputable dealer. Just to buy them off the internet and somebody just come and install those things. These things are providing some level of security for your home, and you want to ensure that the persons who are experienced and are qualified in installing these type of equipment give you the best value for your money. All right. The other area is lighting. Lighting is so critical right now, and it's very cheap. You can go into any of the stores, and there's a lot of motion detector lights that you can install around your house. And these provide a lot of coverage and a deterrent for persons. There are some that as soon as the motion, the bright burst of light can deter a lot of criminal elements around your house. All right, so these are some of the things that you could look at. Then keeping your place clean, your surroundings, your surroundings by trimming your trees so you can have a view of the road or sight around your property. to maintain your property in a manner that gives you the opportunity that you can see what is happening around your place, right? We don't look at our house when we come out of our windows or balconies from our doors. We look at what we consider to be blind spots, where you cannot see certain things around the area. And if you know you have blind spots in your house, put in security systems along those areas. Add some level of security that may be relevant to those locations and your geographic location. Right? Go ahead.
No, I mean, you have more to add, or?
Just one or two other areas that we are looking at in that. Now, in Trinidad, you know that during this period, we have persons who come in and asking for little odds and ends at your home to do a little work. You know, we have to be mindful of who you're employing at this current time. Persons may come to assist in, doing some painting, clean up around the house, power washing. You need to get some references of these persons in terms of asking neighbor if they know them, if they ever used these individuals before, because persons will be looking for an opportunity. Some legitimate in the context of they're looking for jobs, as well as any other persons who have criminal intent in mind, that they come into what they call canvass your house and see what opportunities are, and then two days after, in the afternoon, somebody else come and take all your valuables from your property because they are observing those type of things, right? And even persons who come in around for the Christmas, not the Christmas period, but on a general note, come in and asking for begging in the arms. I mean, we try to assist persons and with goodwill, but these persons are not, may or may not have good intent. So they take that opportunity to come and ask persons, if they could offer, you need some additional money, a little food stuff to see about my children. I know the sad story, but they have intent at the same time. And then we have the other aspect of it where we continue to worry about the persons coming in particular service providers' uniforms. Probably maybe a Wasa shirt, maybe a TNTech, Digicel, Bmobile, these service providers, but they come into your location and say, we come to check your service and see if everything is okay. They are also trying, and persons of this nature may utilize this opportunity to canvass your property to see what opportunities there are to commit criminal acts. So we have to be very, very cautious around this Christmas period and at the end of Christmas and this period itself, and holistically from a security perspective.
So, acting SP, I hear you, and I agree with you. People certainly need to take precautions. It is that time of year where there's a lot of cheer and festivity in the air, but it's also a heightened period of crime and criminal activity. Although I might argue that there is no longer a period for heightened criminal activity, because over the course of the year, we're constantly hearing about home invasions. Sometimes home invasions are not even reported by the media. But let me ask you, okay, fine, fair enough. But on the flip side of the TTPS, in terms of their response time, the calls being made for home invasions, in terms of people contacting the TTPS for assistance, there was one experience that I spoke about this morning by a friend of mine over the weekend where they said there's a shift change right now taking place at the station. We're waiting for a new corporal to sign in. We can't take any complaints or reports right now. I mean, in instances like that, people might take all their precautions, but then the TTPS might not be there when they're needed.
And just to add, it is unfortunate that happened, and I want to apologize to the family members who would have got that response. That is not what we continue to enforce in the Trinidad Police Service. Once you call 999, a response will be sent to you. And these are the numbers that we have to communicate with yet. But at the same time, we do in fact have some shortcomings that we're trying to address. But in holistically, this might be in some circumstances an isolated situation. Unfortunately, how it happened, but it's something we have to continue to look at in terms of our response to these type of incidents, because of the need and the trauma that the persons are going through and the need for assistance at that point in time. So I hear you, and I'm sure that all of our media ambassadors and the Commissioner of Police will be aware of the situation, and we'll try to put our systems in, enforce our response system as we go forward. And I say again, I apologize to the family. It's not something that we would like anyone to go through, to add into the trauma of the home invasion as well as the non-responses of the police officer in that particular time. So I say again, I apologize to you and your family, sir.
Well, yes, we just a couple more questions for security purposes. I mean, two things that seem to be somewhat obvious, or I think is somewhat obvious. Would you say that now will be a good time to have, dogs in your yard, just extra coverage if anybody is snooping around in your yard or trying to make their way through your backyard, especially, that you would have something there to potentially raise the alarm and hopefully deter anyone trespassing. And then also when you're going home, particularly late at night, how effective or necessary do you think people should be with regards to just keeping a track of who's following them and how far they might be following them straight to their house, especially if you don't live in an area that's a major traffic thoroughfare. You're more towards the periphery of the road system.
And that is two important points. When you're going home, I mean, sometimes we take this for granted that we traverse one route because we find that is the convenient route and time efficient route, but we're not understanding that you are putting yourself as a pattern. So I know exactly when you come, when you go in, what route you're taking. So we have to look at this from a security perspective, personal safety perspective, identify different routes. A 2-minute or 3-minute delay can save your life, right? So identify some additional routes. If you're going home and you see a vehicle following you and you're unsure if the vehicle is actually following you, or you find that the vehicle is taking every turn that you make, you're unsure. My recommendation is you do not go home. Return, don't even go home. Just return, and drive to the nearest police station, right? Drive to the nearest police station, right? Or go into a location, go into a mall, go into a place where you have a lot of persons, and communicate with the police and inform them about what is taking place. As it pertains to the issue of dogs, now we have some challenges recently with respect to use of dogs for the purpose of protection. We have to be very cautious in terms of utilizing dogs, not understanding the seriousness of having a dog in your property. You may want it for deterrence of criminal elements, but you realize we had some incidents recently where family members were killed as a result of the dog. So you have to balance that when it comes to the issue of dogs, like knowing what type of animal you have, the attitude of the animal, how the animal is trained, what is it trained to do, and ensure that your property is properly fenced so that the animal would not venture out of that property and cause injury or even death to other persons on the streets. So there are several measures that we can do to take our level of security one step up, because the holistic point of view is to ensure that you make yourself a harder target and make your house a hard target. If we not understand about keeping ourselves as hard targets, making it difficult for criminals to get into our house, to take advantage of us on the streets, we need to look at all these things and how we do business generally and how we conduct our affairs generally. This is not to say that we want to be, we are asking the public to be, because we have high crime and we're asking the public to do all these things, but this is just a matter of personal safety throughout the world, and this is something that we need to look at.
Well, I'll actually like to close on that point, because things like watching to see if anybody might be following me, that's something that I've generally tried to practice long before now, when I got my license, basically. So we're talking about 20 years or so, right? That's something that I've always looked at. And we've had the security lights, before this current crime wave, before murder rates reached 500. That was something that me and my family, our house is not that big, but we do what we can to protect ourselves, the burglar proofing. I think, yes, at the end of the day, it's not the police trying to pass off some of their work. It's also just what is practical for us to do for ourselves. But let's take a break now because we have WSN's news on the hour. And of course, when we return, well, the media ambassador, he will be in the hot seat, but we also will be in the hot seat if you have any other questions to ask us. But we break for news in the hour. We will be right back after this.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best for your baby is at dbesttoys.com. We have the best strollers, car seats, walkers, feeding accessories, playpens, cribs, clothing, and the widest range of brand name toys like Barbie, Hot Wheels, Nerf, LOL, Fisher-Price, Cocomelon, Intex Pools, Amazon Fire tablets, HP and Gateway laptops, and the best bikes, scooters, skateboards, and ride-on. Visit us in-store at 7 Main Road, MacBean, or shop online now at dbesttoys.com. That's dbesttoys.com. We have the best toys at the best prices.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix-It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix-It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy, there will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. Only on your content capital, WESN.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. only on WESN Content Capital.
Welcome back to Talking Point here on WESN Content Capital. We thank the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services Media Ambassador, Acting ASP Ashraf Ali, for joining us this morning virtually via Zoom. I myself am via Zoom, and so is my co-host and colleague, Mr. Sean Michael Small. It's just simply one of those days, ladies and gentlemen. But thank you for being with us, and we covered a variety of topics this morning, of which we will give you the opportunity to comment on. Now we started up, of course, with the unfortunate killing. And I say unfortunate because it's the only word I could find in my vocabulary right now to describe this situation where Jamal Modest, along with other kids as well, were playing, and gunmen just brazenly, undiscriminately opened bullets on last recreation grounds. But we also spoke about what's taking place within the People's National Movement Party right now as we continue to keep a close eye on the internal elections. And the acting ASP spoke this morning about how you, the citizen, can help yourself by securing yourself, your family, and your property, considering what is known as a heightened crime season with Christmas coming up and Carnival also right around the corner. So let's open up the phone lines now, ladies and gentlemen. The numbers will be posted on your screen, as you can see right there. Call in and join us on Talking Point this morning, and the acting ASP will be taking your questions as well as Sean Michael Small and myself. Now, as we wait for your calls, acting ASP, I just wanted to ask you, the advice that you gave, that is it's good advice. You know, I appreciate that, and I agree with you of many things. But for example, keeping a dog now is a very costly thing. Some people can't even afford to secure themselves or feed themselves, and yet keeping a dog and maintaining a dog is a costly thing. You also said that you can also keep your area well lit, which I agree with. People need to do their best in order to do such. But lighting fixtures, even if motion sensor ones, are not necessarily cheap. And sometimes people could only afford light bulbs which aren't entirely bright, which will allow for such. So how do you respond to that?
Well, I agree. In the context of the varying type of the varying costs attached to some of those items. For instance, dogs. It all depends on what type of dog you are willing to invest in, because once you choose a particular dog, there's a cost attached. So you need to understand where your pocket can go. Not because your neighbor has a particular dog, you want one just like that. You may not be able to maintain the cost of that dog as well as provide all the necessary safety measures for that dog. So you need to choose whether or not a dog may be reasonable in your circumstance if you have the availability and the space needed to put a dog in your property. So that is a decision that you have to make. It's a personal choice that you have to make with respect to that. As it comes to we focus on the issue of cost for these lighting equipment. Yes, some are more at the top high-end scale, and then but there are some that are a little cheaper. At this point in time, you have to weigh which one is we have to weigh it. Your personal safety as to the cost that you're willing to expect. So you have to make that personal choice. I cannot tell you which one to choose, but in the current environment, you, the individual, have to determine whether or not my personal safety and the safety of my house is important, and I could put some measures, not all, but at least put some measure in place that can afford me the opportunity to make my house a little hard target.
No, and acting ASP, that's fair advice. But we do have a call on the line with us from Claxton Bay. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Morning, Sean. Morning, Keaton. Morning to the officer there.
Good morning, Mr. Fisherman.
Yeah, you know these house invasion. When these fellas come with about roughly 2 carloads, they just come with 8 and 10 men. 99% them know them coming in a house, and you have no weapon to defend yourself.
Yeah.
Get them coming with guns and so forth, right? Cutlass and them. So them no personally them coming with unarmed, defenseless people in. Yeah, and then again, I hear one about dogs. But right now, we is catching them and to mind ourselves because you mind a dog. You know, you hardly seen a potong in the road. So that might take less no of it though.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
The Caribbean Shepherd, as they call it, the potong. caller on the line with us from Cascade. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is really a question for the only serious policeman on the panel. Are we, officer, facing a situation where the police are not capable, no longer competent to treat with the criminality that confronts us? By extension, is it that we no longer have fixable solutions for the challenges that confront us? I say this in light of the fact that I was in East Port-of-Spain over the weekend, and the amount of guns I was hearing, the amount of bullets that were being fired, and I really didn't see the police around. How do we explain this?
All right, thank you, caller. I just wanna ask before we go to the acting ASP, if by any chance the caller is willing to call back in, if you heard so many guns and you heard all that, did you contact the TTPS to make a report? Because that's also part of the entire scenario. Acting ASP, I do apologize. Before we get to your response, I just hold on to that question. We have a caller line with us from Sangre Grande. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen and the officer.
Good morning.
Morning.
I just want to let you... let me lower my volume, please. Right. I am taking it up from the last caller, right? I'm calling from Sangre Grande. What he just spoke about, we are experiencing this rampant in Sangre Grande. I have called on many stations, but what has happened recently in our road, in Foster Road, there are gangs going around, home invasion. I am a widow living alone, and I have to lock myself in. Only when my son comes home, he will find me in my yard watering my plants. And they came and stand up by the road 8 o'clock in the morning. They came in another home. The ladies are bedridden home. They stole things and gone. They went in another home. They stole jewelry and money, and they gone. Big daylight. Where are the officers patrolling to safeguard the citizens, the young, the middle-aged, and the old people? Imagine I'm 70 years old, and I cannot go nowhere. I can't even come out in my yard. And we have to be suffering like that? We are in a vacuum, sir. Gentlemen, it's really, really bad. It's terrible what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago right now. And it's hurting us because now I'm telling you, we can't even take a taxi. We don't know who is who in a taxi. So you see how we are suffering, sir? I thank you for this opportunity, but it's very painful what I'm saying this morning. And everybody is saying the same thing. Where are the officers patrolling all the time for our safety? We, our taxpayers, are paying them their money. Where are they? What the national security is doing, the Minister of National is doing for us. It's terrible, it's hurtful, it's painful. I'm living alone, I'm a widow. You understand, sir? So please, again, do something for us.
Well, thank you very much for calling us and expressing your thoughts, your opinions, and your experiences. We wish you all the very best and wish you well. Acting ASP, please hold on to that last question from Cascade as well as this lady from Sangre Grande. I do apologize. We do have a phone line with us from Marabella. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How come, you see all these things being published in the papers about they're finding all these arms and so on, but they don't lock up nobody.
Yeah.
Well, where's the result for that?
All right, thank you very much, caller. Acting ASP, if you'd like to respond to this cascade, there's Sangarani and there's this quote from Arabella.
Well, the issue here is, and we continue to do our part in terms of reinforcing some of the issues that the communities are facing. We have been out there patrolling, having the officers out. I mean, it's unfortunate we cannot be in communities 24/7 patrolling those communities. We do not have realistically the resources to be in every single community 24/7. It's not an excuse, but it's just logistically not feasible with the number of communities that popping up that in these areas. Yes, and the same way that the criminal elements do in fact do some groundwork. They know they're gonna target your house. They're already starting to do some canvassing. They're doing some surveillance on your property. They are checking, and they don't just decide, okay, today I'm going to buy this property. They may have been driving through the property, the residence for a period of for some time, and we are not paying attention. And that is why we are saying the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is trying to assist you all in making you much more aware of your surroundings. We don't take being aware of our surroundings as important. They are dependent on the police to do that for you, but there are simple things that we need to take into consideration in the context of personal safety. Personal safety is yours. You need to do all that is necessary in this whole concept.
Yes, acting ASP, and I agree with you. We do need to play our part as well, but you can hear the concerns from the citizens. In fact, we do have another caller on line with us from Hoover. Good morning, caller. Hello, good morning.
Morning, caller, you on here?
All right, I think we've lost that caller. Caller, if you can, please call back in. We have a caller on line with us from Woodbrook. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, sir. Yes.
Hello, good morning, caller. Are you with us?
Morning to you. You did say that I should call back. Let me say to you, where I was, the best of police station is right next door. Right next door. I'm sure the superintendent is aware where the Bessel Street police station is. I'm not trying to put him on the spot this morning. But I think it is time the country begins to recognize where we are as a population and do what is necessary to put the right people in office who will be prepared to take the firm and decisive action that is required to rid this country of the scourges of criminality at all levels. When we speak about crime today, we are really focusing on gang. But think about what is going on as we speak in the hallowed halls of justice with respect to King's Counsel Nelson and the former Attorney General Anand Ramlogan and Dennis Ramdeen, lawyer Ramdeen. These are fundamental matters that are all interlinked and intertwined. And it serves to say to the world, and it serves to say to the criminals, the young ones, the 14-year-olds who are doing us this service, that listen, everybody does crime in Trinidad, but nobody does the time. There is no order, there is no law, so there is no order. I would like the superintendent to speak to that, please.
All right. Well, acting ASP, hold on to that because we do have another caller on line with us from Chagonas. Good morning, caller.
Good day, gentlemen. Hello?
Hi, good morning. You're live. We can hear you.
Okay.
Morning.
Just talk about that guy, that young boy who gets shot in Enterprise. And this is a direct result of the gang culture in Trinidad. I have gone into detail and explained to you how it came about, starting in East Driver, then when a certain Prime Minister put people to squat in Bayshore, then the next one in the opposition put them in Enterprise on the train line and so forth. And unless we get to dealing with that problem, right? That includes town and country planning, allowing building, squatters, I mentioned to you, that according to the official records, 22,500 people applied for letters of comfort. Of only 8,000 was on state land, but each government come up with 200,000 people to regular. You see, once we have that sort of thing, we're going nowhere. And the solution to that is my old topic, annual administrative reports. And people like National Security Ministry, they haven't put in an annual administrative report for the last 5 years. And once that is going on, you're wasting your time. And of course, you're that talk show, so you talk. Any questions, gentlemen, before I leave?
And none from our end. Thank you very much for your contribution. Okay, Acting SP, the floor is yours. The caller from Woodbrook asked you to respond to that situation of whether or not the TTPS is actually losing the war.
No, I would not say that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is losing the war. The war has become more diverse. The criminal elements are also utilizing different technologies, different opportunities, and the Commissioner of Police did in fact say that the crime now enters the social realm. We are now on social media where crimes are taking place from social media. Everything is being placed on social media. Events are taking place on social media. Persons are portraying criminal acts on social media. They are videotaping criminal acts on social media. They have firearms and all that on social media. But at the end of the day, it is easier to post on social media than to call the police service and say, this is what is taking place in communities. Now, I understand the public. I understand what the public is saying. That is why we continue to partner with the public and ask the public to bring this information to us. Share as much information that is necessary for us to take these measures. We have pushed in our strategic plan the concept of community watch groups by sharing information, but you have a responsibility in your community to take some action to inform the public. Yes, Sean?
No comment.
Sorry, I don't know. Sorry, I think as much as you're saying that, the public really appreciates your presence this morning because we have two callers on the line with us. The first caller is from Kira. Good morning, caller.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, morning. You hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good program as usual with both of you guys on the ESP. I didn't get the ESP name.
Sorry, caller.
The name?
Yes. Is there something that you wanted to contribute?
Yeah, I want to contribute. I want to speak to the ESP. I want to find out what is the sanctions strength of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service right now. Because I heard you mention something about manpower. I want to know what the sanctions strength. Because I want to make a contribution.
What is the what?
Sanction strength presently at the police service?
Sergeant Trent?
The sanctions, he's asking sanctions.
Remember, how many members currently is in the police service?
We have over 9,000 officers, sir. That is spread across. I know where you're going. We have 9,000 police officers.
Could you say?
We have about 9,000 plus police officers, and it is spread across 10 divisions plus sections and branches in the police service.
I know all that because I passed through the system. I will be there over 34 years. I have an idea how the system operates. But what is the present strength that working presently, not one sick leave and all the country and so on. I'm saying that, right? We're dealing with crime. Okay? You have a section called the Garden Emergency Branch. We have the IATF and we have the Port of Spain Task Force. I concentrate in Port of Spain now. And sometimes you're in Port of Spain, and sometimes for half an hour, might be on a weekend or a Sunday, you're not seeing a police vehicle passing on patrol. I'm telling you that. So sometimes if a crime is committed, or somebody needs assistance, somebody gets stabbed up, you're not seeing a vehicle present day. I don't know what is taking place now. In my time, it was not like that. Because GB had patrols in the Port of Spain area, the Beatam. We We said, who foot and mobile up to Passy Street, Beatum 1 and 2, Production Drive, Pioneer Drive. Then we had the IATF, and then we had the Police Task Force. So you always had the police present, you understand? The police presence is important. So I doesn't know when the same manpower and this power, and then that's why I asked that over the question, was the sanction strength present, you know? And that could be done in all divisions. People need to see a presence at the police service. The presence is very important.
Thank you very much.
Another thing I hear a guy talk about why they're only finding the guns and they're not locking up anybody. The police service operates on information. When they do get that information, sometimes they want to go to the source, right? They get information that firearm is lodged or stuck at a certain place. What I think the police should be doing sometimes is stake out that area and see who come in to pick up those firearms, because those firearms in this place they'll be.
Sorry, we have to cut. We have another caller on the line with us from Arima, and we want to give everybody a chance. Good morning, caller.
Morning.
Yes. Hello, morning.
Good morning.
Yes, you're live.
Yes, okay. I just want to see all that happening here now today in Trinidad and Tobago. I presently blame it on the police service, the management of the police service, because what's happening now didn't just happen overnight. If the police was policing when they're supposed to police, we would not be at the stage in this country. Simple things, like a man park on a corner, police will be passing, and see that man, I wouldn't tell him nothing. He walking down the street, the police will see somebody doing, they wouldn't tell him nothing, they're not vigilant. Now they tell people to come and partner with them and say something and come and together. The police have to go on the ground and do their work. Come out, yes, we have the municipal police. Let them come out and do their work. They have the traffic warden. Let them come out on the ground and do their work. And I ever see us how that what happened in this country didn't happen just so, because the police are not policing all the time. Thank you.
All right, caller, thank you very much for your contribution. I think that's where we'll close the phone lines for now. I do apologize for having to cut the caller from Kirab, and I'm so sorry that I think we may have lost 2 other callers, and we apologize for that simply because of time. But folks, if we cut you, it's because we want to give everybody an opportunity, and there others are waiting. Acting ASP, you have quite a bit to respond to with the time that we have left. Please go ahead.
So, well, Keaton, I will respond on it on a general basis. Holistically, trying to touch all the callers concerned, because you're getting from all the concerned callers the issue of security, right? And we are saying that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has their role and function to do, and we are doing our role and function. It may not be to the satisfaction of all the members of the public, but we are getting there, and we are now asking the public, you need to do your part in terms of assisting in ensuring that your personal safety is considered your personal safety a priority in your life. There are many things that we cannot do for you. We cannot tell you how to keep your house. We cannot tell you how to secure your house. How much to invest in securing your house. We cannot tell you how to whether you want to make yourself a hard target or not. But what we are doing is giving you the opportunity and the advice from a security perspective, because that is what we are involved in, public safety and security. And our responsibility here is to share as much information with the public to create your environment, create your hard target system for you. Making you a harder target. We need to understand that security, public safety and security is not only the responsibility of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. You have a role to play in your personal safety. And we will keep on coming on these programs and sharing tips throughout the year as different seasons and different activities pop up. But we are aware that criminal elements out there always looking for opportunities to commit offenses. And if we don't keep reinforcing this to the public, they take it for granted that everything is okay. So this is one of the things that we keep on coming to do, and I appreciate all the feedback from all the callers. It just give us an understanding of how they view us now, how they view the police service, and what more we have to do to reinforce certain things to the public. So generally, this is our objectives. Our objective is utilizing platforms like these to bring information to the public where they may not be aware of, right? But at the same time, you need to do your part, right? And we are doing ours at the same time.
Well, acting ASP, I want to thank you very much for your presence on the program this morning. I know that the public appreciates your presence as well, where they have the opportunity to call in, to speak to you and to ask you questions. And we appreciate you taking the time to respond to everyone. So thank you very much, and best of luck throughout the day, sir, and for the rest of the week. We look forward to seeing you again next Monday.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all the callers and all the information shared with us.
And Mr. Sean Michael Smallwell, virtually, but nevertheless, we were still able to have talking point this morning. I think that's the most important thing. And well, I would like to say hopefully this week will be a good week, but it hasn't started off in the brightest of ways, has it?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll just say we have to remember something I think we take for granted. Patriotism is something we take for granted. There's a very small saying, stop me if you hear this one, together we aspire, together we achieve. I think the people that crafted our nation were onto something with a lot of the principles that they littered in with our symbolism and our mottos and our anthem. If only we would take them more seriously. But that's a topic for another day.
No, together we aspire, together we achieve. But if you falter, all will fall. You know, so bear that in mind.
That's what's happening right now, Keaton. That's what's happening. That is what's happening right now. The government is faltering. A lot of sections of society are faltering, and we are all paying the price.
We are all paying the price, yes. Well, that paradise lost takes a whole different meaning, ladies and gentlemen. But nevertheless, we have hope. We'll continue to have hope, and that's probably one of the reasons why we continue to do this program, even though I must admit at times it could be hard and gut-wrenching. But ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. Please keep safe and keep well. And remember, today is a good day. As ironic as it may sound, to have a good day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
It's Diwali time again, and that means delicious vegetarian cuisine. Chief has